Let's start. We were at 120, were we? 125. Tridasheshwari. Okay. Let us start. त्र्यक्षरी दिव्यगन्धाढ्या सिन्दूरतिलकाञ्चिता उमा शैलेन्द्रतनया गौरी गन्धर्वसेविता 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 विश्वगर्भा स्वर्णगर्भा वरदा वागधीश्वरी ध्यानगम्या परिच्छेद्या ज्ञानदा ज्ञानविग्रहा 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 सर्ववेदान्तसंवेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी. Please be on mute. सर्ववेदान्तसंवेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी लोपामुद्रार्चिता लीला क्लृप्तब्रह्माण्डमण्डला सर्ववेदान्तसंवेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी. Please be on mute. I am having a feedback. Thank you. सर्ववेदान्तसंवेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी लोपामुद्रार्चिता लीला क्लृप्तब्रह्माण्डमण्डला सर्ववेदान्तसंवेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी लोपामुद्रार्चिता लीला क्लृप्तब्रह्माण्डमण्डला 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 सर्ववेदान्तसंवेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी लोपामुद्रार्चिता लीला क्लृप्तब्रह्माण्डमण्डला अदृश्यादृश्यरहिता विज्ञात्री वेद्यवर्जिता योगिनी योगदा योग्या योगानन्दा युगन्धरा अदृश्यादृश्यरहिता विज्ञात्री वेद्यवर्जिता योगिनी योगदा योग्या योगानन्दा युगन्धरा अदृश्या दृश्यरहिता विज्ञात्री वेद्यवर्जिता योगिनी योगदा योग्या योगानन्दा युगन्धरा अदृश्या दृश्यरहिता विज्ञात्री वेद्यवर्जिता योगिनी योगदा योग्या योगानन्दा युगन्धरा इच्छाशक्ति ज्ञानशक्ति क्रियाशक्ति स्वरूपिणी सर्वाधारा सुप्रतिष्ठा सदसद् रूपधारिणी इच्छा शक्ति ज्ञान शक्ति क्रिया शक्ति स्वरूपिणी सर्वाधारा सुप्रतिष्ठा सदसद् रूपधारिणी इच्छा शक्ति ज्ञान शक्ति क्रिया शक्ति स्वरूपिणी सर्वाधारा सुप्रतिष्ठा सदसद् रूपधारिणी इच्छा शक्ति ज्ञान शक्ति क्रिया शक्ति स्वरूपिणी सर्वाधारा सुप्रतिष्ठा सदसद् रूपधारिणी इच्छा शक्ति ज्ञान शक्ति क्रिया शक्ति स्वरूपिणी सर्वाधारा सुप्रतिष्ठा सदसद् रूपधारिणी अष्टमूर्तिरजा जैत्री लोकयात्रा विधायिनी एकाकिनी भूमरूपा निर्द्वैता द्वैतवर्जिता 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 अन्नदा वसुधा वृद्धा ब्रह्मात्मैक्यस्वरूपिणी बृहती ब्राह्मणी ब्राह्मी ब्रह्मानन्दा बलिप्रिया अन्नदा वसुधा वृद्धा ब्रह्मात्मैक्यस्वरूपिणी बृहती ब्राह्मणी ब्राह्मी ब्रह्मानन्दा बलिप्रिया अन्नदा वसुधा वृद्धा ब्रह्मात्मैक्यस्वरूपिणी बृहती ब्राह्मणी ब्राह्मी ब्रह्मानन्दा बलिप्रिया. The word there is Brahma Atma Aikya Swarupini becomes together Brahmatmaikya Swarupini Brahmatmaikya Swarupini ब्रह्मात्मैक्यस्वरूपिणी अन्नदा वसुधा वृद्धा ब्रह्मात्मैक्यस्वरूपिणी बृहते ब्राह्मणे ब्राह्मे ब्रह्मानन्दा बलिप्रिया भाषारूपा बृहत्सेना भावा भावविवर्जिता सुखाराध्या शुभकरी शोभना सुलभा गतिः भाषारूपा बृहत्सेना भावा भावविवर्जिता सुखाराध्या शुभकरी शोभना सुलभा गतिः भाषारूपा बृहत्सेना भावा भावविवर्जिता सुखाराध्या शुभकरी शोभना सुलभा गतिः राजराजेश्वरी राज्यदायिनी राज्यवल्लभा राजत्कृपा राजपीठ निवेशित निजाश्रिता राजराजेश्वरी राज्यदायिनी राज्यवल्लभा राजत्कृपा राजपीठ निवेशित निजाश्रिता राजराजेश्वरी राज्यदायिनी राज्यवल्लभा राजत्कृपा राजपीठ निवेशित निजाश्रिता निवेशित निजाश्रिता राजत्कृपा राजपीठ राजत्कृपा राजपीठ निवेशित निजाश्रिता निवेशित निजाश्रिता राजत्कृपा राजपीठ निवेशित निजाश्रिता राज्यलक्ष्मीः कोशनाथा चतुरङ्गबलेश्वरी साम्राज्यदायिनी सत्यसन्धा सागरमेखला 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 दीक्षिता दैत्यशमनी सर्वलोकवशङ्करी सर्वार्थदात्री सावित्री सच्चिदानन्दरूपिणी 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 देशकालापरिच्छिन्ना सर्वगा सर्वमोहिनी सरस्वती शास्त्रमयी गुहाम्बा गुह्यरूपिणी 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 सर्वोपाधिविनिर्मुक्ता सदाशिवपतिव्रता सम्प्रदायेश्वरी साध्वी गुरुमण्डलरूपिणी 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 कुलोत्तीर्णा भगाराध्या माया मधुमतीमही गणाम्बा गुह्यकाराध्या कोमलांगी गुरुप्रिया 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 स्वतन्त्रा सर्वतन्त्रेशी दक्षिणामूर्तिरूपिणी सनकादिसमाराध्या शिवज्ञानप्रदायिनी स्वतन्त्रा सर्वतन्त्रेशी दक्षिणामूर्तिरूपिणी सनकादिसमाराध्या शिवज्ञानप्रदायिनी स्वतन्त्रा सर्वतन्त्रेशी दक्षिणा मूर्तिरूपिणी सनकादिसमाराध्या शिवज्ञानप्रदायिनी स्वतन्त्रा सर्वतन्त्रेशी दक्षिणामूर्तिरूपिणी सनकादिसमाराध्या शिवज्ञानप्रदायिनी चित्कलानन्दकलिका प्रेमरूपा प्रियङ्करी नामपारायण प्रीता नन्दिविद्या नटेश्वरी चित्कलानन्दकलिका प्रेमरूपा प्रियङ्करी नामपारायणप्रीता नन्दिविद्या नटेश्वरी चित्कलानन्दकलिका प्रेमरूपा प्रियङ्करी नामपारायणप्रीता नन्दिविद्या नटेश्वरी. Here, though there are two avagraha chinas, these S symbols, they must be neglected while reciting. चित्कलानन्दकलिका प्रेमरूपा प्रियङ्करी नामपारायणप्रीता नन्दिविद्या नटेश्वरी मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मुक्तिदा मुक्तिरूपिणी लास्यप्रिया लयकरी लज्जारम्भादिवन्दिता मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मुक्तिदा मुक्तिरूपिणी लास्यप्रिया लयकरी लज्जारम्भादिवन्दिता मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मुक्तिदा मुक्तिरूपिणी लास्यप्रिया लयकरी लज्जा रम्भादिवन्दिता मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मुक्तिदा मुक्तिरूपिणी लास्यप्रिया लयकरी लज्जा रम्भादिवन्दिता भवदा वसुधा वृष्टिः पापारण्यदवानला दौर्भाग्यतूलवातूल जराध्वान्तरविप्रभा 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 भवदा वसुधा वृष्टिः पापारण्यदवानला दौर्भाग्यतूलवातूल जराध्वान्तरविप्रभा. So let's stop here. Are there any questions about any particular shloka?
Sir, Parvatama here. So the last one in Kannada version, it says, I'm the last one walking the read, not the, it is, I think it is 143. Bhavadava, the Bhavadava Sudha Vrusti in Kannada. But it's in Sanskrit, it says Bhavada Vasudha Vrusti. So, like when we read the Kannada version, so probably this is the kind of mistakes we do, right?
Okay, so it is one complete word. It's a samastapada. It's a compound word where it is bhava dava sudha vrishtihi. The rain of Amrita which she is pouring over people who are burnt, dava, by or who are thirsty because of toiling in samsara bhava. So that is the entire meaning. So that entire phrase it comprises one word. So bhava, maybe they may have put a comma between bhava dava and then sudha vrishti, but while chanting it must go together. While learning, I just broke the words down. So bhava dava sudha vrishti will be the way to be chanted. Dhanyavad. Any other questions about you want me to repeat a particular shloka? Please feel free to ask. Yeah, so just a minute. Where is that shloka? This 141. Chitkalananda Kalika. Is that the one? So the two S symbols here denote that there are two short vowels in that place, which means the actual way to split this word is indicated as Chitkala Ananda Kalika. That is the way to be split while making meaning or making sense out of it. But while recitation, because of a sandhi called as Savarna Dirgha Sandhi, Chitkala and Ananda Kalika together just becomes Chitkala Nanda Kalika. That extra must not be separately pronounced. The purpose of putting this symbol here is for people who are later interpreting the texts to not make a mistake of splitting it wrongly as Chitkala and then Nanda Kalika. It is not so. So it must be Chitkala and Ananda Kalika. But however, it does not affect the recitation where it is Chitkala Nanda Kalika Prema Rupa Priyankari Nama Parayana Prita Nandi Vidya Nateshwari. Did that answer your question, sir? Any other question? All right. So let's come back to the meanings. We have so far seen how Lalita represents the Triputi, the subject, object, and verb of any process in this world, of any phenomenon in this world. She is the Dhyana, Dhyatra, and Dhyeya, Karta, Karma, and Kriya. She is all the three. And in the three different states of consciousness, which is first, while we are wakeful, she is the subject, that is the waker who is experiencing the outside world. So I'm sitting before you, before this laptop, keyboard, mobile, and all of this. So this is the external prapancha, the Vishwa as it is called. She is both the object of experience, which is Vishwa, the universe, as well as the Jagarini, the one who is wakeful and looking at all of this. Similarly, when I go into a state of dreaming, I am the Swapanti. She manifests as the dreamer. And so, what does a dreamer see? He or she experiences flashes of light, flashes of images, flashes of some events, past events, present events, future events, whatever. They flash before. That is why the word Taijasa means a flash, a figure of light. So she appears as those cinema reels which run before us while dreaming. And then as the supta, as the identity or as the person, so to speak, which has completely shut down its engine. So neither the mind is working nor the body is functioning. So at that state, at that level of consciousness, she still manifests as that person or that thing which enters that state of consciousness called the supta. And that person experiences nothingness. There's a blanket of blankness around. So that is called prajna. That is just pure awareness without any object to reflect back and therefore know that even such a person exists. She represents both the subject of such a world, that realm, as well as that blanket of blankness too. And finally, she underpins all these three different states by being the fundamental nature of consciousness itself, called the Turiya, which is not actually in its true essence affected by any avastha, by this movement of uh, display of states of consciousness. So it is the mind and the body which will go through these three different states. Whereas, at least this is what the Shastras and the Vedanta says, that there is definitely an entity beyond both the mind and the body, which therefore is not affected by the transformation or transition between these states. So, Sarva Avastha Vivarjita, she is beyond, or she is removed from all these states. And so we have stopped there. Uh, then we have seen that she actually sits on a chair of five corpses, Pancha Brahma Swarupini and Pancha Preta Sanasina. So, what are those pretas? It's being elaborated here. Srishtikartri Brahma Rupa. She takes on the form of Brahma, the Chaturmukha Brahma, the four-faced, that grandpa-like figure, who involves himself in Srishti, who procreates, who reproduces, the eternal grandpa, Brahma. So she takes on that form, that role, and that portfolio. And then Goptri, to protect, to sustain, and to keep it running. That is the business of Govinda. That is the business of Vishnu. And she does that role of protecting the universe in the form of Govinda. That is why, in fact, out of the Trimurtis, it is always Govinda who takes on more avatars, because his responsibility is actively dharma samsthapana, and like he himself says, to maintain a balance, to sustain dharma. And to do that, because it is his headache, he must from time to time, when the asuras um, you know tip the balance, he must intervene to bring it back into balance. He will never vanquish every asura, because he also understands that whatever be the case, there will always be some component of evil in the world, but just that it must be kept at bay, must be kept in check. So that is, so he will never ever, go on killing all the seven, the Atala, Betala, Sutala, all the Rakshasas who live there. Then they are not inherently bad also. So it is just that they want different things. And only when they become too domineering and upset the laws of karma and the laws of functioning, then will he intervene. So uh, in that role of being a protector, she takes on the form of Govinda and Samharini Rudra Rupa, and then to finally put an end to this, to an already created model of the universe, she becomes Rudra and kills it, and she obliterates this entire world. Finally, with the remnants of that world, Tirodhana Karishwari, Ishwari, she becomes the Ishwari who conceals. Tirodhana means to conceal, is to scatter across. Tirodhana also means to scatter across. So, like I had told you, there is a pot. The the potter is Brahma, and then the buyer and the seller are Vishnu. The user is Vishnu, and finally, after the use is done, you throw it. The person who discards that pot and breaks it is Rudra, and once it is broken, this recycler, he throws away the shards of clay into some factory or some landfill, and that is uh, Ishvara or Ishana. And then finally, one other day, Sadashiva, he will go to that landfill and recycle those very fragments back and bring them to the potter. He will heat those fragments of clay, bring it back into a more malleable form as an actual clay, and he puts it back into the universe. So this is what Sadashiva does. Anugraha. Anugraha doesn't literally mean blessing. It here means anugraha, to bring it back, to collect it back. Ishana will throw it away, he'll scatter it away, and Sadashiva will bring it back. So Samharini Rudra Rupa, as the destroyer, she becomes Rudra. As the scatterer, she becomes Ishwari. As the collector, she becomes Sadashiva, and in this way, she engages in Panchakritya, in these five fundamental roles of God. Panchakritya Parayana. She engages. Parayana means she is engrossed in doing so through puppeteering these five Brahmas, these five people. Bhanu Mandala Madhyastha. We have seen elsewhere that she is Chandra Mandala Madhyaga. She sits in the orb of moon. And here it is also describing her to be the force behind the sun. Bhanu Mandala Madhyastha. She who resides in the orb of the sun. Bhanu Mandala. Bhairavi. Bhairavi is the power of death. Bhairavi is the power of death, or the guardian who is responsible for transitioning, for overlooking the transition of a soul from living to dead. That is Bhairavi. She incidentally also is one of the Dasha Mahavidya. So there are these 10 avatars, not avatars, but 10 forms of Devi, as in Kali, Tara, Bhuvaneshwari, Bagalamukhi, Chinnamasta, and then Bhairavi, Kamalatmika, Matangi, and so on. So out of these 10, Bhairavi is one of the components. She incidentally is also responsible, or she sits at the Ajna Chakra, at the place of command. She sits like a king or a queen, commanding the soul's transition between bodies. Bhairavi. Bhagamalini. Bhaga is, it has many meanings. So here, as Bhairavi, she wears a garland of skulls. So Bhagamalini here refers to that, a garland of skulls, therefore representing all the heads or the identities or the egos which she has crushed, and which she is rejoicing in the death of. So Bhagamalini. Padmasana Bhagavati Padmanabha Sahodari. And then on the one end, on one extreme, she wears a garland of skulls, whereas at the other extreme end, she is very sattvic, very pious, very hygienic, and she becomes Lakshmi, the other extreme of the spectrum, where she is all giving, all benevolent, which who supports life, whereas Bhairavi would take away life, as Padmasana means Lakshmi. Padmasana means one who sits on a Padma. Bhagavati, the goddess. Padmanabha Sahodari. As Lakshmi, she, as Bhagavati, she gives life and she facilitates life by giving wealth, prosperity, health, food, timely rains, and so on. And she also is called Narayani elsewhere, right? So Narayani, Nada Rupa, and Narayani also comes in that Durga Saptashati, Sharanagata Deenartha Paritrana Parayane Sarvasyarthi Hare Devi Narayani Namostute. So Narayani there refers to her being quite literally the sister of Narayana. Padmanabha Sahodari. She is the sister of Padmanabha. Padmanabha is again Narayana, because he has a lotus from his navel. So, how is she the sister of Narayana? So, this refers to a story which again comes in Durga Saptashati, where uh, it is told that in the beginning there was the Adi Shakti, there was this fundamental energy, which here we can say is Lalita, and from that energy it split into three parts, which were called Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati. Let's just call them K, L, and S to avoid confusion further. I'll tell you why. So K, L, and S. And from Mahakali, from K, came two other forms, which were Brahma and Lakshmi. Brahma and Lakshmi were created from Mahakali, from K. From L were created Gauri or Parvati and Vishnu. From S were created Rudra, Shiva, and Saraswati. So, from the parent of L, Mahalakshmi, came, Mahasaraswati, S came Vishnu and Gauri. So they therefore are said to be twins, or they are said to be brother and sister to each other. And they also share the same tattva. Yesterday I had shared a link of this Instagram post where it is more often than we can understand and believe that in the Tantras, Kali and Krishna are equivalent, and both of them actually are dark in complexion. And similarly, Vishnu and Gauri are both white in complexion, and they participate in almost the same equivalent functions, and they execute the same responsibilities, and they play the same roles. And in fact, in one of the verses of Shivananda Lahari, um, remarking about the devotion of Vishnu to Shiva, this is a verse. Let me just recall. Hmm. बाणत्वं वृषभत्वमर्धवपुषा भार्या त्वमार्यापते घोनित्वं सखिता मृदङ्गवहता चेत्यादिरूपं दधौ त्वत्पादे नयनार्पणं च कृतवान् त्वद्देहभागो हरिः पूज्यात् पूज्यतरः स एव न हि न चेत् को वा तदन्योऽधिकः पूज्यात् पूज्यतरः स एव हि न चेत् को वा तदन्योऽधिकः. So what it means is, it's talking about how Vishnu, the fundamental entity who fell in love with Shiva, uh, he showed his love for Shiva in many different forms. So first, Banatvam, he became the Bana for, he readily became the Bana, the Astra for Shiva to kill the Tripuras. He became the missile. Banatvam, Vrishabhatam, and then as Nandi, if you remember the story, again Nandi, he comes from somewhere in the Ganas. It is said that it's actually Vishnu who took the form of Nandi because he wanted Shiva to sit over him. So for this intimacy, he became Nandi. Banatvam, Vrishabhatvam, Ardhavapusha Bharyatum, and then he was not satisfied with Shiva just sitting over him. So he wanted to, in any form of love, you want to be as intimate with your beloved as possible. And there he takes on the form of Parvati itself, it is told, Ardhavapusha Bharyatvam. So he became the wife of Shiva by becoming Parvati. That is where this equivalence between Narayana and Narayani comes from. He became Parvati, who of course did the sadhana, and then she wooed you, and you accepted her as the wife, as the spouse, the Ardhavapusha, the Ardhangini. Ardhavapusha Bharyatvam Aryapate Gonitvam, and then to find your feet, he even became a boar, a wild pig, to even go to any lengths to reach your feet. Ghonitvam Sakhitam, and then he became your friend in your leelas. He became your friend Sakhita. Mridanga Vahata, and then he became one of your Gana members to play the mridanga while you do your Tandava, your Mahapralaya Tandava. He plays the mridanga to entertain you and to accompany you. Sakita mridanga vahata cha ityadi rupam dadhau. And in this manner, Shiva has such a great respect, admiration, and adulation for you that he was readily taking on all of these forms, and therefore, Pujyat Pujyatarassa eva hinachet kova tadanyodhikaha. And therefore, he became an ideal example of how true love is, true bhakti is, and therefore he attained the status of being your foremost bhaktas. That is what? The foremost pujya taraha, the greatest, most venerable person worthy of worship. Pujyat pujya tarasa eva hinachet kova tadanyodhikaha. And who else in this universe has shown their love for you in such variant manners? This is one of the shlokas from Shivananda Lahari. Why I said that is because this tattva of Narayana and Narayani being interchangeable and equivalent as to a brother and a sister repeatedly occurs in the Tantras. And just as we have Ardhanarishwara, where half of it is Shiva and half is Parvati. Similarly, we have Harihara, where half is Shankara and the other half is Narayana. Shankara, Narayana, Harihara. Vishnu also by Tattva also is the lord of the Ida Nadi, of the left channel of energy in our body, the also called as the moon, the Chandra Nadi. Whereas it is told Adityatmakaha Rudraha. So it is the right, which is Pingala, also called as the sun nadi, the solar nadi, the solar flow, so the solar channel, which is governed by Rudra, which is why left and right parts. So even if you see the image of Shankara Narayana or Harihara, the right side is Shiva and the left side is Vishnu. So it is a very significant metaphor there. And similarly, so is Gauri. Gauri also is the Pratyadhipati of moon of Chandra, and she occupies the left side. She is the Padmanabha Sahodari. And then Unmesha Nimisho Utpanna Vipanna Bhuvanavalihi. It is told that she has Meenakshi, correct? She is called Meenakshi, right? She has the eyes of Meena. And if you actually observe, the most fishes do not have eyelids. They always have this bulging eyes which have no eyelids because they're always in water. So there is no need for an eyelid uh, like we do because it keeps our eyes moist. That's the entire purpose of an eyelid. But because they're already in the water, they don't require an eyelid. And that is also the reason why it is told Lalita is compared to the to having the Meena Akshi, the eyes of a like that of a Meena. One is the shape of her eyes is like a Meena. That is one artha. The second artha is she actually has eyes which do not flutter, which do not. I mean, she doesn't close her eyelids. The reason they give is because it is told Unmesha Nimisha Utpanna Vipanna Bhuvanavalihi. That is, the moment she closes her eyelids, the entire world comes to a halt, and in fact, it gets destroyed. Vipanna. And when she Unmesha means to open the eyelid. When she opens her eyes, Bhuvanavali, entire series of universes, Utpanna, they will come into being just with her opening her eyes. And when she Nimisha, when she closes her eyes, all this entire series of universes this multiverses, so to speak, will get destroyed. And therefore, it is told that, oh mother, because you don't want your universes, which are verily your offspring, to be destroyed, you keep your eyes ever open. And keeping the eyes open is very similar to that of a fish. And that is why the name Meenakshi. So much significance and so much pregnant meaning underlies this very simple word called Meenakshi. Unmesha, Nimisha, Utpanna, Vipanna, Bhuvanavalihi. This is actually also has a Vedantic meaning to it because this idea of Drik and Drishya, the seer and the seen. So as long as, I mean, this is a very, it's called subjective idealism in philosophy, where it means um, it is only because I am seeing that this laptop before me is existent. So that is the philosophy that is called as idealism. That is, the entire universe around me exists only because I am seeing it. There is no objective reality to it. That is what idealism's proposition is. So, in that sense, Vedanta agrees by saying that it is only when the drik, only when there is a seer, is there an object to be seen. When the seer itself is absent, then there will also not be an object to be seen. This is quite controversial because there is this very famous philosophical debate between, at least this folklore, so to speak, between Albert Einstein and I think it was um, Bohr or someone, another physicist. So they are arguing and saying that Albert Einstein believes in realism. It means he says that the moon will exist in the sky whether I look at it or not. Even when I'm not looking at the sky or at the moon will still exist. That is called as realism. That is what Albert Einstein is said to have argued from. That was his stance. But then this Niels Bohr or someone, he says, he questions, how do you even know that there is a moon outside? You see, there is actually no evidence that we can provide to say, excepting saying that it's common sense, that the moon actually exists even outside this room that I'm sitting in. I can only say, yeah, I can, bring a telescope and look at the moon, or I can give all these arguments that no, if the moon were not there, then there'd be tides and tsunamis in the earth, etc., etc. But all of this is called a speculative argument. And with raw philosophy, you can still question, how do we even really know that there is a moon outside? We'll say, no, because other people are seeing it. But then how do we know that other people are seeing it? You see, so if you follow this method of questioning, we'll ultimately come to a point where we say it is because I believe that other people are seeing it, or it is because we will say I have been told that the moon will always exist. I have been told that I am this limited person who has, who was born some 30 years or whatever, 40 years ago, and then who will die. But the moon will still continue to exist because it is some 4 billion years old and so on. So this is a scientific argument which is called realism. But it will not stand to reason if you follow such a method of questioning. That even the very fundamentals of science begin by saying it's the study of matter or of the observable universe. And how is it the observable universe? It is because I, having these five sense organs of seeing, touching, tasting, and all of that, I am observing the universe. Is it not? Only after we take this on faith or so-called an assumption on an axiom that what my senses are telling me is the truth, can we proceed to do actual science? If we were to question that very axiom that what I am seeing may not be the real thing, or what I am looking or touching may not be the real thing. If we were to even question that, then the entirety of science itself becomes null and void. Because now you have shaken the entire foundation of science, which is of realism. So this is the debate which happens. Even, I mean, this is not just Albert Einstein and Bohr, but this debate has been going on since a very long time, at least in India. So the Sankhya people would argue from the perspective of uh, this idealism, whereas the Mimamsakas and the Nastikas also would argue from the point of realism, idealism versus realism. This keeps happening. But this particular phrase where it is told Lalita, when she opens her eyes, the world comes into being. When she closes it, the world disappears. So that is a very significant argument, a support of evidence to support idealism. That she as the drik, she as the seer, only when she has her faculties open will the universe even exist. Otherwise, it doesn't. Continuing, Sahasra Shirsha Vadana Sahasrakshi Sahasrapat. She has 1,000 heads, Sahasra Shirsha Vadana. Sahasrakshi, 1,000 eyes, and Sahasrapat, she has 1,000 legs. This is not quite literally, she is not some kind of a weird monster which has 1,000 heads and all. It just goes on to say that she is the sum total of all thinking heads. She is the sum total of all creatures. So, of course, any creature which has a head will also be hers. And similarly, Akshi, eyes. Eyes is just uh, an example for all sense organs. So she represents all sense organs and all locomotory organs. Sahasra path. Legs show locomotion. So all motor organs and all sense organs she is, and all thinking she does. Vadana or heads, Shirsha Vadana represents, it's a symbol for mind. So she is the sum total of all minds, all sense organs, and all motor organs too. A Brahma Kita Janani Varnashrama Vidhayini. She is the Janani, the mother of every single creature, right from the Kita, from an insect. In, in those days, maybe they thought Kita, I mean, the smallest creature possible was these small insects. From today's scientific angle, you can say maybe from all unicellular organisms till Brahma, Brahma, till the force which created the universe, till that she is the Janani to all such beings. She is the mother of all such beings. Varna Ashrama Vidhayini. She is the one who brought into picture in society this classification or division of labor, which is called Varna, and different phases of life, different stations of life, which is called ashrama. So, ashrama literally means a place of rest. So, different phases of life is where the soul takes rest in different ways. So, in the first phase of life, it takes rest by engaging only in intellectual pursuits. That is called the brahmacharya. And second, that is where it is working on itself. It is creating its, gaining skills, it's honing its knowledge, and then it's learning behavior, social conduct. It's learning about the truths of the world, of philosophical truths, of material truths, and so on. So that is the first stage of life where it is resting in knowledge, in the first ashrama. The second ashrama is where it is resting literally in the home, grihastha. So it's residing in a more stable place. So in the first brahmacharya, the soul need not necessarily live in its own home. It may be living with a guru, is it not, in a gurukula? Or it may be traveling for gaining knowledge and experience. Whereas in the second phase is where it gains some stability, it likes to settle down. So with settling down comes, of course, marriage, children, property, parents, and all of that, all these responsibilities, which is the downside, I would say, to wanting security and stability in life. So a stable job, a stable family, um, you know, stable children, and so all of that. So that is grihastha, which where it seeks stability. So first was it sought knowledge and upgrading itself. Secondly, stability. And third is when it is vanastha or vanaprastha, where it now withdraws itself from the responsibilities, because in seeking stability, it realizes that truly that this it's a farce, that stability really doesn't exist. And it's it takes a plunge into the uncertain world. And metaphorically, it is told to be going into the forest, because a forest is a place of complete uncertainty. You don't know when the next food will be. You'll have to struggle for, if to hunt, you have to forage, even for food. And of course, there is no hospital. If you get injured, you should have somehow the knowledge to see which herb or which plant will serve as a treatment and ointment for it, and so on. So it's a very hard life to live, but that it voluntarily chooses when it has seen that the stability that the grihastha life offers is a farce. It's really not true. And therefore, it gains wisdom and retires into a forest to take care of itself and to face uncertainty head on. And finally, after facing uncertainty in the vanastha or the vanaprastha, the soul will have matured. At least this is what the belief of the Shastras is, that the soul would have matured by coming face to face with the uncertainties of life. Usually at that time, we would have lost either our parents or some relatives. Our children would have grown and gone abroad or whatever. And so we would have completely come back to the square one, where though we did all of this to have a secure, less lonely life, we will come back to a place where we are back to as lonely as we were when we started, and still insecure, and uncertain about life. And that is when it enters Vanaprastha, doing all this pilgrimage, relinquishing most responsibilities to live and understand how it feels to live in uncertainty. And then finally, when it has lived sufficiently in uncertainty, it goes on to the last and final stage, which is the sannyasa, where it relinquishes completely all responsibilities, that including its own survival too. So it will now, like Buddha or like Sadashiva Brahmendra, whoever, will take life as it comes. If food comes, it will eat. Otherwise, it will not eat, and so on. So that is the final ultimate sannyasa, the fourth stage of life. This is how Lalita has designed it. So Vidhayini means one who has designed and set this in motion. It's a very logical progression of life. And then she is also the Vidhayini, the designer of the brains behind setting the Varna. Varna, again, I think we have spoken at length even while we were talking about Shiva Sahasranama, where this very word had occurred there. Varna, again, is a division of labor. So while the soul is going through this progression of life, individual progression of life, relative to others, there is a certain progression. There is a certain work which needs to be done. So this division of labor was how the Varnas were designed. In fact, in any society, not just in India, you can go to even some remotest of tribes. Even in such tribes, there will be a group of people who will do the foraging, a group of people who will do the hunting, a group of people who will take care of the sick and the needy and the elderly, and then another set of people, the children usually, who will just keep playing and enjoy their life. And then there'll be another set of people who will clean the cottages and look after some finances and so on. There will be some other people who will go and collect these flowers, fruits, so on. So all of this will happen regardless of there being even the word caste or jati, varna, whatever. It is because humans are social creatures. We have learned to live in society. In fact, that is the only way we can live in this world, because we don't really have special powers of flight or of enormous strength like a lion, or we don't have the speed like a cheetah and so on. But we thrive because we are able to form communities. And in communities, by definition, not everybody can do everything, because then the entire point of a community is lost. A community is where you agree to do some things while the other person agrees to some other things. That verily is the birth of Varna. Whether or not the hierarchy there should exist or should not exist is a debatable matter. But the fact of life is that there will be a division of labor in whichever community, be it in the Americas, or Australia, US, whatever, India, it is always present. But in India, what it further developed into is a different matter. It's a question of history. It became hierarchical, or if it became discriminatory, whether it became caste based, I mean, birth based, or so on. That's not really our point of debate today. But she is the one who put this idea in humans that there can be a division of labor, and you can do different things and excel at different things, and then still come together um, as a community and build stronger and greater things, because we even see the evidence of that till date. A tribal community, the success of a tribal community versus the success of an agricultural community versus the success of a rural versus an urban. Where there is more community, where there is more division of labor, that setting will be more prosperous. In tribal communities, there is a division of labor, but to a lesser degree. Of course, there will be more equality, but the overall success of that community is still less. And as we progress towards an agricultural community, then a rural, and then an urban, we see very stronger and stronger division of labor, and therefore also inevitably a greater division and inequality, but also the success will be high. And today we are at a stage where we have come up as the top of the food chain. So we can destroy any natural habitat of any other creature. And that only goes on to show how powerful and successful we as a human community are. And this idea of a community comes from Varna, which she is responsible for seeding it. And then finally, Nija Ajna Rupa Nigama Punya Punya Phalaprada. She gives, as the Karma Phaladata, she gives the phalas, the results, the consequences of Punya and Apunya, of the right and the wrong actions. And Nija Ajna Rupa Nigama, uh, her walk, she walks the talk. That is basically the gist of that word. Nija Ajna Rupa Nigama. Nigama means to walk, is to traverse, is to do an achara. Nija Ajna. So she, as she would command to others, as she would advise to others, as she would want others to behave, Rupa, as she would like them, she herself does it. Nigama. She does it herself too. So she walks the talk. She listens to her own advice as she would easily give it to others too. Nijajna Rupa Nigama. And the other meaning is what her ajna is becomes the nigama. Nigama, in the other meaning to nigama is Vedas, Agama and Nigama. Nigama represent the Vedas. So whatever her command is, that forms as one of some of the commandments, some of the instructions which occur in the Vedas. Nijajna, Rupa Nigama, and Punya Punya Phalaprada. Let's stop here. Let's take up any questions if there are any, and any comments, suggestions. Would anybody like to add something? Yes, ma'am.
The part. And actually, it is not related to this any particular shloka. It is generally, the people. I mean, people say I'm not the expert anyway. People say that the Anjaneya is the form of Ishvara, which he's taken a birth as Ishvara of Ishvara. Now we also see that Vishnu. I mean, Vishnu is Narayana is a devotee of Shiva. So now the question it always arises: who is superior? Who is following woman? It is a very I don't know. ತರ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಲುಕದ್ದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ so it's a for any newcomer like me or trying to understand the our the ancient knowledge. So it becomes slightly difficult for us to really correlate and understand all that. ನೀವೇನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ಸರ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ವೆದರ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ರಿಲೆವೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್.
It's very relevant. In fact, that is a very often asked question in the Hindu sites, because different Puranas will say, will exalt certain deities favorably. So maybe if, let's say, the Linga Purana, Shiva Purana, Skanda Purana, and so on, they will talk of Shiva in high regard. And not, they won't put down Vishnu as such, but they will definitely, like I said, they'll say he is the greatest bhakta and so on. And when it comes to Devi Puranas, of course, they will say Lalita, she is the greatest and all of this. So how do we resolve this? Now, that is where, I mean, this is a question which Adi Shankaracharya himself also faced, which is why he brought in the system of uh, Panchayatana. So where he saw that people were quarreling in this manner even back then. That is, I'm talking about some 7th or 6th century AD, when there were all these very strong, staunch sects, Vaishnava sect, Shaiva sect, Ganapatya, Kaumara, and so on. And therefore, the Hindu fold had become very fragmented and disunited. Then, to bring them all together, he suggested a practice where in every house there would be at least one vigraha of each of these different sects. Usually, these five prominent sects of one of Shiva, one of Devi, one of Vishnu, one of Surya, and one of Ganapati. So this was what he advocated as a means to bridge unity between all these sects. But what in reality is, who really is superior? That question is irrelevant, because irrelevant in this is not relevant to today's class. I'm just saying irrelevant in general, because ultimately there is this final words of the Rig Veda, and this problem, however, please mind you, is not a very new one. This problem, just as it was occurring in the 6th century, has occurred even further back when there were the sects of Indra, Agni, Vayu, Surya, and so on. So even in the Rig Veda, there were, in the times of the Rig Veda, when the rishis were writing these mantras, uh, there were people who favored Indra, and he would call Indra the greatest, and then other people would say, no, no, Agni is the greatest. Indra comes to seek the aid of Agni, and so they'll make all this. I mean, they won't say they are making these stories up, but of course, it is their faith, their love for their own Ishta Devata, which makes them say so. And till date, I mean, why just in Hinduism? Even if you see all religions, it is all about, see, Jesus is the greatest. You believe in Jesus, you'll go to heaven directly. And you can be the, worst sinner ever, but if you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you'll get your place in heaven. Or similarly is the case with Allah and so on. So this idea of multiple gods, multiple superior deities, who reigns over whom, has been a very ancient question. And to put an end to this, perhaps the rishis who were very wise back very long ago, they still said, Indram Mitram Varuna Magnima Huratho Divyasa Suparno Garutman Ekam Sad Vipra Bahudha Vadan Chagniyamam Matarishwa Namahu. So then they said, oh people, some people say Indra, Agni, Indram, Mitra, Surya, Agni, Varuna, Yama, and so on. They favor each of these according to their own beliefs. But finally, the proclamation is that Ekam Sat, there is only one reality. Vipraha Bahudha Vadanti, that people who have experienced this one reality call it by different names. And by saying calling by different names, they're not just saying that there are synonyms, but they also mean they'll express the same reality in different forms, with different stories, with different ayudhas, different settings, different backgrounds, and so on. But Ekam Sat, there is one fundamental reality alone. So this is the only way, I would say, which can bridge the gap and bridge back the unity between any sects of Hinduism. And this also philosophically is claiming that there can and there will be only one reality, but expressed in multiple ways. So, to answer your question directly, who is greater? I don't know who is great, but yeah, according to people's wishes, they can continue to believe what they want.
Hinduism has been criticized or portrayed as I mean, basically, that is how the division of the society is happening based on all these things.
100%. 100%. Very right, ma'am. Yes, Usha, ma'am, you have your hand raised, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh,
Namaste.
this is about this kind of question was there some 20 years back or something like that. I just wanted to purchase book from ISKCON, and there was a very good book on uh, Krishna and also Vishnu form and pictorial presentation of Buddha. And one of the incident comes over there where Banasura, I think so. Banasura being the son of Ishvara, and like he requests or pleads Ishvara to fight with Krishna because Krishna took the side of Aniruddha, who was actually this one by the Usha, the Banasura's wife. And what happens is Ishvara at the end appears fighting happens, and in the end Ishvara throws this Agni Agnastra because he's a Krishna, like Agni Tattva. And Narayana is a cold Tattva, Narayanastra, which is like minus thousands of degrees. But even this one, the heat of any thousandth degree that gets extinguished if it is going to go cold or something like that. So then they prove that Narayana is greater than Ishvara. So I took the same information to our Guruji and said, this is what it is. Then why in every place, every instances, Brahma and Shiva gives vara to asuras, and in between so comes and Vishnu in different avatara comes and then himself becomes a hero by this kind of presentation and then answer. And then they said, no, not like that, because all are creations of God, Bhagavan. So even they have to be sustained, even Asuras and all this have to sustain, but they know, like Vishwara knows how to give the blessings or boons, so that there will be always a way to for a destruction. And if you see, even in a Ramayana, what happens is Rama performs puja to Shiva, and only to kill Shiva's, you know, uh, devotee Ravana. Ravana, I mean, Shiva in the form of, Hanuman's Ansha, helps Rama to kill the son. So this way, in such cases, Krishna has become more liar than the Srishti itself. And the other side, what Purvi also said is, always Shiva keeps meditating, where he himself is like, people, all the creature, the creation has to worship him and meditate. And at the same time, Narayana also keeps meditating. So Parvati here asks, "Oh, why are you meditating? You are the one." Similarly, Lakshmi Mata also asked Narayana. Both of them answered that, I'm meditating for Shiva, and Shiva says I'm meditating for this one. So they are the two sides of the coin. At the same time, for Banasura Kusinga, it was like, they played around to kill the Banasura. And one more thing is, Sudarshana Chakra was given by Shiva to Narayana. So that's how I think Pinaka also was given by Narayana to Shiva. I think so. I'm not sure. So this is how they are two sides of the coin. So they split the roles whenever there is a need. So both are equal. At the same time, in Shankaracharya also we can see, and his mother, in the, she was in the last moment of her life, she asked, "I want to see Krishna," and then he laughs and say, how Shiva is different from Krishna. Okay, you ask for, and then I'll recite a shloka so that you can see the visualize, Krishna's avatara, Dashavatara. That's how both are not different. They are two sides of the same coin, and they take the role as a thing. So this is how even Advaita Siddhanta, they call it as Siddhanta, not Mata. Even Dvaita Mata, Vishishta Advaita Mata they are, but Advaita Siddhanta, like Aham Brahmasmi or Tat Sat we say, right? That comes. So everything is one from there. The different, Amshas have taken the based on the perception of individuals. Those Ishtadevata are going to be fulfilling the needs based on the prayers and efforts. So that's it. So there is nothing called equal and unequal. So in Advaita we can see equally, as you said, Ganesha, Krishna, and Shiva all are given. Dasra we perform puja to Devi. So all are on different forms, are based on different needs. So all the credit goes to the elders and wise people and those who have shared this information. Just sharing it.
Thank you. It was really, really, I mean, you actually, hit the nail, so to speak, by bringing all of these incidents together. You're right. Vishnu did tapasya of Shiva to get the Sudarshana Chakra, and Shiva, Vishnu helped Shiva in these incidents of Banasura and Bhasmasura and so on. So there is a very, very cordial amity between both of them. It is only, I mean, there's a very nice quote. It's the gurus never quarrel, it's the followers who make all the mischief. So it's something like that. So perhaps we should stop investing our ego more in trying to fight in claiming that it is my God who is bigger than yours, which is basically the ego only which is talking. So if we recognize and realize that, then maybe we will be more open-minded towards other sects and other beliefs too. You're absolutely right.
One small point for Krishna and Sona graders of puja, right? So in that case, if we refer to Mahabharata, Krishna says don't worship Indra. Indra's duty is to give, give a rain or this one. So in that case, these Indra, Deva, Varna, all are actually devatas, not devas. Demigod, they say, no. So
Hmm.
they keep changing as we know that next Indra is going to Kali Chakravarti. So they have the terms and it is their duty for them. They have to fulfill their duties of, why, and all stuff and stuff like that for sustaining on the earth and on the Pashu Pakshi and this one. And people have to perform the yajna that Havis will be given to the Devatas. So that was the interconnection, interdependence between these two. So Krishna says, perform puja to me, I mean the whole person, not the Devatas who are being designated to do their.
Hmm. Okay. But in that sense, then it would be again a point of debate. If people, I mean, I understand that in today's time and age, there is hardly any person who follows Indra as their Ishta Devata and so on. But in perspective, if we were to keep an open mind, we must also therefore allow uh, this thought and belief system that there could have been people, or there may be people who still believe that Indra is the supremest deity. So, in which yes, I understand that the Puranas do say that these are just placeholders for different functions of nature, like thunder, lightning, light, and so on. In such a case, if we were to follow the Puranas as our scriptures, then yes, of course, we are in all right and adhikara to believe so. But if there are some sects, other sects which believe no, we are going to only follow the Vedas. So the Vedas do clearly say that Indra is, in fact, Indra occurs the most number of times out of all the hymns, be it in Rig Veda, Yajurveda, or Samaveda, whatever. So it is he who is populated mostly throughout the mantras. And in most of them, it is always said that Indra is the supreme most, he is the greatest. So, if we were to believe the Vedas, then of course we have to therefore uh, concede that Indra is definitely the supreme most. But yes, it depends on which scripture we are willing to follow and which parampara we choose to follow. You're right. Dhanyawad. Any other comments, suggestions, remarks, questions? Okay, but today was a very important discussion that we had. Thanks to both Usha Arya and Parvatama Arya. Thank you so much for bringing this point up. I hope that more people, at least in the future, when they watch this video, if at all, uh, they also contribute to this discussion, at least in the comments, and people are aware that there is also a line, a thread which ties together all these different sects, which is like ma'am said exactly that, which has been a cause of friction and division in the society. It has been always, religion has always been, but at least within the Hindu folds, let's try to be more united. Astu, dhanyavadah. Namaste. Namaste.